Wonderful. Well, welcome everyone. Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, and even for some of you, good early morning, as it might be 4 or 5 in the morning. We literally have people from all over the world joining us, some from Australia, New Zealand, UK, Canada, and of course here in the US. So welcome everyone. My name is Heather Choate, and I am here with my partner, Mark Johnston. We are international marriage experts, and we are grateful that you guys came today. And we want to share something really important that we have discovered. We're calling it 3 costly mistakes people make when their marriage struggles. And I'll go into why we came up with this and why we feel it's so crucial that we share this information with you. But first, I just really want to honor you and encourage you just to take a deep breath, clear your mind, try to remove any distractions, and really focus on this. You're here because your marriage is important to you. You're here because your family is important to you. So the best gift that you can give them, we're right here at the holidays. So the very best gift that you can give them is your time and your focus, and by learning some new things. So I encourage you to remove any distractions, really give this next 45 minutes your devoted time, energy, and focus, and open up your mind to some new insights, okay? So just to make sure you're in the right place, this is who this is for. If your spouse is pulling away from you or your marriage, maybe they are checked out. This is for those that are facing or are currently in separation or divorce. And this is for those, you may have tried several things already. In fact, you may feel like I've tried everything out there, Heather. I've read every book. I've listened to every guru. There isn't a YouTube video I haven't watched. What next? What else can I do? You might be scratching your head and your heart might be aching and your stomach might be full of anxiety because you're like, nothing seems to be working. What do I do? Don't worry, we've got your back. You're in the right place. If that's you, you're in the right place. All right. And if you are eager for solutions that work, I know that that's you because you're here and you've shown up. And that says a lot about who you are, the type of person that you are. And it also is an indicator of where you are going. Because I promise you, my friend, on the other end of this masterclass, that good things are coming for you because you are a seeker of truth. You are a seeker of knowledge. And as you take action on the things that you learn, I promise good things are to come. All right. So before we dive in, I really want you to do some work here. Yes, this is for the work. This is where we put, I want you to use your muscles already. I want you to think for a few minutes and define clearly, where do I want my marriage to be 3 months from now? 3 months from now. We're coming up to the holidays. We're coming up to the end of this year. We're about to launch into a new year. Maybe things improved for your marriage this year. Maybe you really want to take things to the next level. Maybe your spouse is now recommitted to working on things with you, but it's still a little rocky and you kind of feel like you're walking on eggshells. You really want to make sure that you're on solid ground with your spouse. Maybe you just found out that they're pulling away. Maybe they just told you and dropped the bomb on you. I don't want this relationship anymore. I'm not in love with you, right? So where do you want that to be in 3 months? What do you want that to look like? Do you want to feel reconnected with them? Do you want to feel safe and secure? Do you want them to leave their affair partner and know that they are recommitted to you, to your family, like our client Leah, who just came on last week and shared her beautiful experience and how her husband left the other woman to be with her. And that's where her marriage is now. We asked her the same question when she first came to us. Where do you want to be 3 months from now? So I would like each of you to just take a minute and really sink into that. Sometimes when we're in the midst of struggle, when we're in the midst of chaos, all we can see is the struggle and the chaos. And we get very caught up in the moments and feel like we're just trying to get minute by minute, day by day. And we fail to see the big picture. So I really would like you to take a minute and think about where you want to be in your marriage 3 months from now. And if you're feeling particularly brave, then I would encourage you to put that in the chat, put that in the comments, and send that message out there. Declare it, make a statement. This is where I want to be. I commit to this. I might not know how to get there, but I will figure out a way. And when you come at your intention with that kind of resolve, again, I'm going to say it again, my friend, good things are coming your way. All right. So with that being said, I want you to hold that vision of where you want your marriage to be in your mind as we go forward. Okay. We have a couple goals here together in our time. And the first one is that Mark and I, we want to give you at least one big aha, like, oh, wow, I never knew that before, or oh, wow, that just hit me in such a powerful way, or oh my goodness, you just spoke to exactly where I'm at. It's like you can read my mind. And now I have clarity. Wow, this is so, that's our goal. We want to be able to help you get that. So again, your undivided attention, open up your mind, and let's get a big aha moment. Mistake number 2 is probably going to sound like such a no-brainer that you might be saying like, duh, why didn't I get that sooner? Or of course, oh my goodness, I can't believe I missed that this whole time. Mistake number 3, our goal there is to move you in such a powerful way that you take action in the right direction. And this is especially true for those that feel like, I've already tried some things, they aren't working. I've already done this. I've gone through this program. We've done this counseling. We've read these books. Nothing seems to work. This is for you guys. We want to give you the right direction and have you take action and move yourself forward in a powerful way. And fourth, we want to give you greater clarity. That's our goal, and your goal too. Open your mind and allow some inspiration, some intuition, tap into that inner part of yourself that's like, this is right. This is good. I need to do this. I need to take this one small step. I need to change this one behavior, right? Open yourself up to that because you're going to know what it is for you. And it could come at any point in this entire masterclass, but that's our goal. And we want that to be your goal too. And as you have that intention, it will happen. So have greater clarity and make at least one positive step forward. And that will equal success. Our time here will be a success, and it will be well worth every minute as we listen, as we engage, as we feel with our hearts, and as we open ourselves up to inspiration and new ideas. I'm going to tell you, some of them might challenge you. They might tweak you a little bit, but that's okay. Because it's kind of like when we're working out and we're doing a new exercise, it kind of feels awkward at first. And sometimes there's a little bit of pain, like as the muscles rip. So I'm not going to promise this is going to be like pain-free, because no journey that's worth going on is ever pain-free. So I'm going to just put that out there at the beginning, but embrace that. Embrace a little bit of the discomfort. If something's like, ooh, yeah, that hurts a little bit, then take that information that you're getting from your inner self and be like, okay, maybe there is some work to do here. And above all, ask yourself, will this maybe lead me to where I want to be 3 months from now? And put it to the test. Okay, that's our goal. All right, so Mark and I here at High Thrive Coaching, we've coached and studied thousands of couples all around the world. And we've literally spoken to thousands of people who are struggling in their marriages. We figured out what makes them tick, what pulls them apart, what brings them back together. And the thing is that there are common traits that couples everywhere have that bring success and happiness. And there are almost universally certain actions and traits that spell disaster. So we want to share with you what some of these commonalities in successful couples are, as well as some of the things that you really want to make sure that you avoid. Because, having done this for so long and worked with so many couples, we've really seen some incredibly severe costs that we don't want you to have to face. We want to see you on the other end of that, where you want to be in, 3 years, or not 3 years, but yes, 3 years, 3 months, 3 years, 30 years. I'm going to say 300 years, because I believe marriage is infinite and eternal, and get you there. Okay. All right. So you're here, want to know what you must do to get your spouse to want to come back to you. That's exactly what Mark and I teach. And so we're going to dive right into that. All right. Before we get to that, though, I want to go over the 3 costly mistakes that we see people make when their marriage struggles. Again, we've had the privilege of speaking to thousands of couples and individuals whose marriages are struggling. So you're not alone. I understand, especially at this time of year, you might go to holiday parties and everyone seems so happy and they ask you, how are you and Dave doing? Oh, we're great, right? And inside you're like, oh my goodness, we couldn't be doing worse, But what Mark and I have come to learn is that there are 3 really big mistakes that well-meaning people just like you are making. And these mistakes are costing them their marriages, their peace of mind, and a lot of money as well. So we definitely want to avoid some of these really costly mistakes. Now, I want to talk about the power of perspective for a moment. So most likely, if your spouse is pulling away, if there is an affair going on, if there's separation or divorce, if you feel like you've hit the end of your rope, you really don't know what else you could possibly do, most likely you're feeling a lot of pain, fear, desperation, and confusion. You may feel like your spouse's decisions just came out of nowhere, like hit you like a ton of bricks. And you might be wondering what went wrong. Why are they doing this? These are all very, very common questions. And I've asked them myself at times when my relationship with my husband was at its low points. What can I do to turn this around? Is it even possible? Some of you here, and it's okay, you might even be wondering, is it even possible? Is it too late? You know, if this happens, is it really too late at this point? What is possible? You had me think about where I want my marriage to be in 3 months. Is that even possible, Heather? So these are some of the questions that might be going on for you. But would this be helpful for you, given that that might be some of your feelings and your thoughts? Having a 30,000-foot view of the situation from an expert who has helped thousands of couples before. See, we can quickly and accurately assess exactly what is going on in your relationship. And we know the exact next steps that you need to take. Plus, combine that with 27 years combined experience applying these same principles to our own marriages. What that creates here is that we have the ability to see the situation through like an expert's lens. But we also have the heart, the compassion, and the understanding of knowing intimately what it's like to go through similar challenges personally. Now, some of you know my personal story. I was diagnosed with cancer at the age of 29 while I was pregnant with our 6th baby. That's right, I have 6 children. A little crazy, now I have 7. However, when I would go and meet with doctors, these were experts, right? They had the 30,000-foot view. What they didn't have was the experience. They didn't know the fear of what it was like to being told that you would most likely die if you didn't abort your baby. They'd never had that experience, right? So while their information was helpful and it was vital, I needed that information. I needed their guidance. What they didn't have was the connection to me that Mark and I are able to offer, because not only are we experts that are able to guide you, just like those doctors and surgeons did for me, but we also have the heart and the understanding of knowing what it's like to go through that. And that's why I personally coach people on the mindset side, because I understand the fear, the frustration, the anxiety, all of that that goes along with it. So we couple those to give you an incredible perspective and give you clarity and guidance that you just might not have at this exact moment in your relationship. All right, I'm going to turn this over here to Mark. He's going to go deep into our first mistake here.
All right, so the first mistake here is a huge amount of tunnel vision. The thing is, most people are so focused on what's going on that they don't even think about, they're focused on what's going on with themselves. They don't really think about all the costs, all the problems that are associated with going forward. And there's very, very good reasons for this. The thing is, I want you to think about a moment here when you have been really upset, or you've been really stressed or really sad. Take that moment for a second and think about how well you were understanding of others, how well you were really able to take other people's perspectives, how well you were able to really think calmly in that situation and think through logically in what's happening. And what the thing is if a relationship is headed towards a divorce, if it's really coming apart and there's a lot of stress and anger and sadness and all these extra emotions, it makes it immensely difficult to have that empathy and understanding and calm patience for your spouse, unless you have someone guiding you along. Most people don't think about the cost, all the many, many different types of costs that happen with divorce, whether that's financial or emotional or the cost of the children or whatnot. And they're a little bit more focused on, okay, what are the immediate things? What's sitting right in front of me? Almost like they have blinders on. So, just talking about the purely financial cost of divorce. Let's, if any of you actually have a good idea of what the actual cost of divorce is, why don't you put it in the chat there? Let's see how, and we're going to run down a few of these things, see how accurate we are. Give you just 5 seconds or so to put in a good guess, if anyone. I've heard some people, I've heard some people, I talk to some clients now, and they're talking about their spouse and how their spouse has such tunnel vision. They say, oh yeah, we can get divorced. It probably won't cost us anything. We'll just, everything will be amicable, and it won't cost anything. Heather, you want to hit the slide there? Well, let's just run down a few of these things, a few of the general costs. Now, of course, there's the attorney's fees, which might vary by state. And there are some instances when you can cut this down, but I'll tell you, if you have kids, if you have anything complicated going on, most states will require that there's some sort of representation out there looking out for the kids. So that's almost, in most cases, going to be in guarantee that there's going to be some amount of attorney's fees for that. There's also the court costs. Now, not as huge of a fee there, but there's filing the petition that has its costs, and especially if both of you are not on board, if one of you contests this, there's going to be more fees. Also fees for evaluation there, as I mentioned. There's going to be, if you even want to go a different route and you need to really fight it out or just talk it out over different issues, there's a mediation costs. Sometimes these can be quite costly. $6,000 or $2,000 per day, that's a little bit more on the upper end, but that is certainly sometimes what happens. And sometimes that mediation does take several sessions, several days. There's also, even if we're not just talking about the process of divorce, of course, if you have to sell the marital home, there's all the refinancing, the realtor's fees for selling the home, and that can be many thousands of dollars. If we're also looking at custody issues, there's going to be child support, alimony. I think $250 per month per child is probably very conservative. I've certainly heard a lot more than that. But yeah, that all kind of depends on income level. And even, if we go further, division of assets. Especially if you've been married for a while, you've been married 15 plus years, you're going to have built some assets up together. Especially if you've been making payments on homes during that time, that's at a very minimum, usually half of that gone. So, we're talking about many tens of thousands of dollars there. But this is just, financial. Of course, we're talking about, other things involved here. The slide here is talking about cost of therapy. I remember, I come from a family, there's 8 kids in my family. I can remember some of my siblings that unfortunately they had to go through divorce. And I can remember it took, their kids went through years of therapy to make that right. And that can be costly over the years. So we're, when we're talking about the just average cost, we're talking about attorney, court costs, refinancing, division of assets, child support, all of that. We're looking at the low end, as long as all those, everything is sometimes ends up being about 15,000. Now, I'm going to be reasonable. Sometimes it can come out lower than that, especially if there's some shortcuts, but this is roughly the average. And this is just purely the financial end. The high end can be as much as 65,000. People often think that about having to pay all the bills on their own and no longer sharing the costs. So we had just got off the phone with a man who said his divorce has already cost him hundreds of thousands of dollars. No joke. They had built some businesses together. had quite a lot of assets. It was costing them a lot of money. And I talk with a lot of people who have already spent several $1,000s in attorney fees just to end their marriage. They told us, wow, if I'm willing to spend that much to end my marriage, it's maybe worth spending that money to actually save it. So, like I said, that's just the cost of divorce purely from a financial standpoint, and I don't even really want to focus on that myself. For me personally, I don't even know what it would be like if my wife Jen, if she came to me and said, I'm done. I personally, I'd be emotionally devastated, and that's not something you can really put a dollar amount to. But my point here is, just beyond the cost of marriage, it's so easy to get so stuck in a tunnel vision, focused on all the stress, all the finances, your own personal pain, that it's hard to see what's going on around you. The effect that this is having on the kids, the effect that this is having on each other. And this just, people just don't think about all the problems associated with after. They're so focused on what's right in front of them and how, basically, how is this divorce going to make me happy? Which obviously it's not going to do that in many, many cases. Just normally there's often years of pain and regret. I see other people, I've seen, close personal friends who, years after the divorce it still comes up as a topic, and they're still bitter about their ex, and that once again, they have that tunnel vision, not really it's very hard for them to see that they don't need to be so focused on all that pain. There's often an assumption that individuals will be happier after the divorce because, okay, the divorce will solve all their difficult problems. And I see this all the time. They say, okay, the easy solution is sitting right in front of me. I'll cut and run. That's the easy solution. And if that happens, all my problems will go away. Thing is, divorce brings up new conflicts, more tension often, because you don't really have that same camaraderie or that commitment to making it work out well. There's also a false assumption that it can be better for the kids. That's just not what the statistics say. That's not what I've seen in my own experiences. That's not what I've seen in professional experience. I've seen some studies that say about 75% of couples, at least one partner had second thoughts about their decision after the divorce. Another study found almost half of individuals wished that they or their spouse had tried harder to work through their differences. Having feelings of uncertainty and doubt are really, really common, and feelings of regret tend to decrease over time. A good marriage as well as a good divorce are similar in that they require those involved to be kind and considerate to each other, to have some patience, to get rid of that tunnel vision. So, like I said before, the tunnel vision, it's about being so focused on your own pain that it leads to some costly mistakes of not understanding your spouse. You're so focused on the pain that's sitting right in front of you that you don't see anything in the periphery. You don't see the damage to your spouse. You don't see the damage to the kids. You don't see the financial costs. And it's just a huge mistake. Whether you're trying to divorce amicably or whether you're trying to fix things, tunnel vision just doesn't help. And understanding is the first crucial step in our restoration equation. That's why we have that as one of our steps. Having better understanding, having more patience for the other person really helps lift some of this tunnel vision. So the question I want you all to ask yourself is, have I become focused primarily on myself and what I want in this situation? Whether you were the one trying to fix the marriage or whether you're the one pulling away and trying to divorce, has that been your primary goal here? Another question here is, do I know what it's like for my spouse? Why are they wanting to leave? We do get occasionally people in here that are the ones that are leaving. So you might even ask yourself, if you're in those shoes, why is it that my husband, my wife is so interested in working this out? Even if you're that person, that's a good question to have. Why is this so important to me? But the bigger question here is the perspective from your spouse's point of view. Trying to gain that other point of view is very crucial here. Another question here is, do I see how my behavior continues to push them farther away rather than attract them back to me? You want to, being able to take your partner's perspective is really important to figuring out this dynamic. Almost 100% of the time, what I see is when, your behavior is pushing your partner away, it's because it's being interpreted as selfish, self-focused, or having this tunnel vision. So focusing on what you want, what's right in front of you, that we're missing out on all the periphery, on all the consequences of our actions. Another question is, am I stuck in my expectations? Part of tunnel vision is that inflexibility. I talk with clients all the time about opening up their perspective and seeing if there's other options here. If you become stuck in your expectations and it has to be a certain way, I think you're going to be missing out on a lot of possible solutions here. Another question, are those expectations causing me to put pressure on my spouse? If it has to be that we have to go to therapy to make things work, you have to respect me first if I'm going to respect you. You'd be surprised how often I hear that. I'm not going to respect the other person until they respect me. Are those expectations causing pressure and causing other problems? And is that inflexibility or tunnel vision causing problems? So what do you have to do to restore your marriage here then? Instead of having tunnel vision, we want to encourage you to understand the bigger picture. Take off some of those blinders and start taking, trying to take the perspective of those around you, especially your spouse, your partner here. That's really, really key. Asking yourself, how is this affecting my family? How is this affecting my spouse? And how can I show my spouse greater understanding? I tell people all the time, when people are upset, when they're angry, even, most negative emotions can be solved with some understanding. I mean, think about those times when you've been upset, angry, and you've been sad. Most people in those situations, they want someone to understand them. And, quite often they want their problem solved, but that understanding goes a long way. It's really important to understand, what does my spouse need and how can I provide that? If we can eliminate a lot of the emotional static in here, if we can eliminate a lot of that stress, a lot of the anxiety, a lot of the other problems. Remember what I said earlier on when I was talking about tunnel vision? It's really hard to have empathy, understanding for another person if there's a lot of emotional static. If you can lift off some of that static for your partner, guess what? It becomes easier for them to have empathy and understanding for you. So the thing is, if things are safe, if they're comfortable, if you can meet the needs of your spouse, quite often they back off from wanting to leave. They quite often want to, are more willing to explore the options of staying around and actually working on the marriage. So I'd like to turn things over to Heather for the next mistake.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Mark. I hope that gave you some big aha moments and maybe something stuck out to you. You're like, wow, I'm realizing, yep, I am really focusing on myself. How can I get out of my own head, out of my own way a little bit here? What is the bigger picture? Another really great question I encourage you to ask is, if I continue down this path in the way that we have, what will happen? If nothing else changes, if we just stay the same, if we continue down the same path, where will we be 6 months from now, 6 years from now, 16 years from now, 60 years from now? Where will we be? How will that affect my children? Is that what I ideally want? Okay. All right. Mistake number 2. And I found this picture. I hope you find it funny. I thought it was funny, but it's fear. We call it our ostrich syndrome, which is like putting your head in the sand, unwilling or unable to see what's going on around us. So not are we just like so focused on our own pain, but we're just like completely oblivious and we don't even want to face what's really going on. And the reason for that is that we get into survival mode. And I'm going to explain this with a little bit of neuroscience, okay? So I'm going to put my geek glasses on here for a minute, and I encourage you to stick with me because this is important. It really helps clarify why we do what we do, and it helps take some of the blame out of it and also helps us make effective decisions going forward. So, okay, the subconscious. Here's our subconscious brain. You can pick whichever side you want it to be. I prefer the wild, crazy, colorful side because it seems to just do its own thing. But the subconscious is actually just like a computer program. It's protecting us by activating the flight. Okay, I can say this: the flight, fight, or freeze response in our limbic system of the brain. Okay, and irrational thinking responses make our situation worse. Okay, so psychology, neuroscience shows us that if we are in survival mode, if we are in flight, fight, or freeze, then the blood circulation to the reasoning part of our brain is significantly reduced. And more blood goes over into our instincts, into our survival mode. And we become like an instinctual animal that is going to manifest itself in different ways. So let me know which one of these sounds most like you and your spouse. Be thinking about both. So we got the flight, fight, or freeze. If anyone can say that fast, like 10 times, then I'm going to give you a special prize because it's such a tongue twister to me. All right. So we're going to go through flight first. What happens with flight is that we want to pull away. It's the runaway response. This is what we see. Oh, this is too painful. I'm going to leave you. Oh, this is too painful. I'm taking the kids. We're out of here. Oh, this is too painful. I'm going to go to someone else and think that it's better over there. So we pull away. We pull away from the relationship, or we pull away emotionally. Sometimes we pull away physically. We remove ourselves from a physical place with that person, like leaving the home, leaving the marriage, or we pull away emotionally, physically, intimately, sexually. We pull away because we're in fear mode. The silent treatment. This is another way of pulling away emotionally, right? We're going to stonewall. We're going to give our spouse the silent treatment. We're not going to open up. And sometimes this is an effort to protect ourselves, right? We don't want them to know that we've been hurt. We want to give us some protection, some space from that person, that painful situation, that scary situation. So this is what happens. Our subconscious activates our limbic system. And for you, that might look as flight. I'm pulling away. I'm going to give them the silent treatment. I'm going to stonewall. It's retreating from the situation in an effort to try to provide safety. Okay. But again, I want you to stretch that out. Think, if I stay in my instincts here in this limbic system with my reasoning part of my brain mostly shut off, where am I going to be 3 months from now, 3 years from now? How is that picture going to play out for us? Okay. And it's okay wherever you are. We're not judging. We're not going to put ourselves down. It's okay. Just own wherever you are. Wherever you are, it's okay. But it's not okay to stay stuck there if it's not where you ideally want to be. No one wants to stay stuck in fear or pain. Okay. All right. Now we're going to go into fight. Okay. For all you fighters out there. I once knew a young woman, her fight or flight, whatever. I can't even say it. Fear, fight, flight, whatever. Her reaction was to immediately punch whoever was closest to her. So if you scared her, like in a joke, she would immediately punch you in the face. I thought it was hilarious because she's this little tiny girl. Anyway, so you fighters out there, this manifests itself going into panic mode. You're going to fight back. You're like, I'm going to fight for this thing. You read the books, you go onto Google, you look for tactics and strategies that will win your spouse back instead of looking for the root cause as to why it happened in the first place. Now, Mark and I, in our restoration equation, we teach this principle specifically that you must not look at the symptoms of the behavior, but you must get to the root of what's happening. And the problem with most of our other marriage resources out there, these books, Google, other mentors, coaches, counselors, is that they're treating symptoms. And when you treat symptoms, the problems don't ever really go away. They just become masked. What Mark and I do is radically different. We go right to the source of the root issue. We help you uncover what that is and we resolve it from there so that you can build a healthy, strong foundation. Okay, so here we go again, going to counseling. I'm going to fight this. We're going to go to counseling. We're going to get some solutions. And this is just another response, right? They get very surface level solutions, like I just mentioned, such as if there's a trust issue, they get counseled, just go out and build more trust with their spouse. And they have no direction. They have no idea why trust was broken in the first place, what needs aren't being met, right? And so then the same issues continue to repeat themselves, or they manifest in another way, in another problem in the relationship. And we see this all the time. Mark and I have seen this again and again and again and again. Another fight, you're going to implement 10 different things and ideas. Okay, you're just going to do all these things. You hear a great idea, you're like, I'm going to go do that. But you only do it once. And instead of implementing one idea over a sustained period of time, what happens if you don't see instant results? You're out of there. It didn't work. I tried to show patience. I tried to show understanding, like Mark said, and my spouse totally blew up and it didn't work. So I'm done. It doesn't work, right? And it's so funny because we do that. We think, okay, I'm going to do this. This makes so much sense. But we do it 1 or 2 or 3 times and it doesn't give us the immediate result. And so we think that we failed or we think it doesn't work. And there's also the idea that we're doing way too many things that aren't really the main things that we need to be doing. And of course, they're going to, a bunch of different scattered things are going to lead to scattered results. So I encourage you to be conscious. What are you doing? Have you really given it a lot of time and given it your best consistent effort? I say this all the time, especially in our gratitude challenge. It's not about perfection. It's about consistency. And I just messaged someone in the group the other day who was saying, I don't know if this is right. I joined a week ago. And she's like, I'm freaking out because I joined a week ago and I'm not seeing any results. I'm like, okay, honey, how long did it take for your relationship to get to this point? About 5 years. Okay, well, if you were trying to lose 100 pounds, could you do that in 2 weeks of dieting? Absolutely not. Bottom line here is that it takes time. It took you time to get where you are. It's going to take time to restore trust, to rebuild the relationship. And it's all about doing the right things in the right order consistently over time to see the results. It's not going to happen overnight. Okay. All right. So it's very common when you're in fight mode to move into neediness and desperation to try to save your marriage. This comes across as pleading, desperation, begging, manipulation, all these different things. You committed to me. You need to work on this relationship, right? And we hear that all the time. And what happens? What's the result? Is that your spouse is pushed further away and further and further and further away. The more desperate and needy you are, the more you're demanding that they work on things, the more they're going to be repulsed and the more they're going to want to distance themselves to create safety for themselves. So that goes to our push versus pull method. You want to encourage your spouse, pull them to you. And that starts, my friends, with getting out of this whole limbic system. Like this is madness. It's just instincts and it's fear. It's all fear-based. And if you are feeling fear as the majority of the time and the majority of the instances with your spouse, then that must be replaced with inner strength, with inner calm, with inner centeredness. So when you make that emotional shift, your spouse will sense that. The neediness, the desperation, the manipulation, anything like that is gone. And you're acting from a place that feels safe. It feels welcoming. It feels, it just feels like attractive. You want to be around someone that is secure, that is a safe place to go, not someone that's desperate and pleading and try to manipulate you to do things. No one wants that. So again, just analyze where your behaviors have really been lately, where your emotions really are, and know that it is absolutely possible for each one of us to change that, because that's what I do. And I see it happen every day. And it's what I love. It's what I crave. It's what I work on every single day, is helping people make that internal shift from a place of fear, neediness, desperation to one of calmness and centeredness. And it's beautiful. We want to be around those kind of people. So that is what that is all about there. And now we're going on to fighting again. All right. So this again, making demands, lashing out with anger. So fight often literally turns into fighting, right? And this only adds more fuel to the fire. I just got so angry. I just got so upset. I understand because I'm a fighter. Okay. Just being really honest. I'm not a fleer and I'm not a freezer. I'm a fighter. And Ben will tell you that. And so what we need to understand is that when we bring more fuel to the fire, it only adds more fire. So do you want fire or do you want a healthy marriage? Okay. Now, again, fight. This is an interesting one here, guys. You're putting all your hope in God. All right. And I believe in a Heavenly Father and I believe in my Savior, Jesus Christ. And whatever your beliefs are, that's fine. But we see this often, a misunderstanding of what faith really is, putting all your hope in God without following any direction, basically relying on hope to save their marriage. And that's not true faith. True faith is belief coupled with action. So it's saying, this feels right. This feels good. This feels true to me. I'm going to move forward. I'm going to take action. I'm going to trust that, this is the path and that God will continue to direct me and lead me as I take action. So it's not just this like vague hope. It's not just wishing. It's not just putting it out there, right? Because I had to do that too with my own life and with my baby's life. I absolutely had faith in God, but I took action. I couldn't just say, okay, heal me from cancer, save my baby, and I'm just going to sit in my room for the next 9 months. I'm not going to do anything. That would not have saved me or my baby, right? We had to take actions that felt true, that resonated true to us. And so that's what I encourage you guys to do as well. All right, now we're going to go to the freeze response here from our limbic system. Let me know if this sounds like you. You freeze. You don't know what to say or what to do or how to react. So you do nothing. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to say. You just panic and you freeze. You don't know what to do. And you're so afraid of making a mistake. So you do nothing. Okay. And when they're introduced to a real solution, if you're in this freeze mode, and I've been there too, you're introduced to this freeze mode and you're like, I need to think about it. And you're just so frozen that the I need to think about it is just a stall tactic. It's just an excuse so you don't have to do anything, right? And instead of being like, actually, this feels really good to me. I know this is a real solution. I'm going to move forward, right? So it's moving out of the freeze mode into effective action. All right. So what they also say is like 99.9% certainty that their marriage will end, and they still stick, and they will stick with the status quo. All right. So if you're in that mode of freezing, if you don't do anything, it is almost certain that your marriage is not going to go in a direction. And it's almost certain that you're going to get stuck there in the status quo. Freeze. They aren't committed enough to get what they want. They just stay stuck in that fear. They let fear paralyze them. And they focus more on their fear than on what they really want. So go back again to what we talked about earlier with where you want to be in 3 months from now. Are you committed enough to get what you want, or do you want to stay stuck in fear? You can either move forward with faith, with action, or you can retreat back into the safety zone. But I tell you what, that isn't a really safe zone. It might feel safer, but you know where it's going to lead, and it's not where you want to go. Freeze. They don't know what they really want. I'm uncertain. I'm going back and forth here and there. I'm analysis paralysis. I'm trying to do all these different things. And so I end up doing nothing. Okay. Don't believe in yourselves enough. I don't believe in myself. I don't believe I can get there. They might be able to do it. I'm not good enough. I'm not empowered enough. I can't do this. It's too much. Okay. And that's another form of freezing. Don't understand the value of investing in themselves and their marriage. You don't realize that you're on a train track and that you have the ability to stop the direction and go a different way. So I would like to ask you, what is your marriage worth to you? Of everything in life, we're coming up here on the holidays, we're giving gifts, we're giving, material things and things from the heart as well. But what is your marriage worth to you? At the end of your life, when you look back on who you were and what you did with your life, what are you going to regret? What are you going to have peace of mind about? And what kind of feelings do you want to have about this relationship? Okay, so what is your marriage worth to you? To me, my marriage is everything. He is my rock. He is my world. He is the father of our children. He is my future. He is my eternity. We've been through incredible hardships. We've been through incredible ups and downs. We've had incredible, beautiful, blissful moments. We've also had the, stale, mediocre ground. We've also been at the bottom of the pit. But I know that he and I are going to be together forever. And that is worth everything to me. That is priceless. Do you agree? Is your marriage priceless to you? Like Mark said, you cannot put a dollar value on that. That's like almost a ridiculous thing to even try to do. But what is it worth to you? What is it worth with your time and your energy? What is it worth to your family? So we're coming back to this question again. What must you do to restore your marriage? All right, I'm going to make a couple of silly analogies here. Okay. Determine the value of your marriage. Let's say we had to put a dollar amount on our marriage. And here's an interesting thing. All right. So especially coming with the holidays, my husband's a huge car fanatic. So let's say that a Ferrari is valued at $280,000, right? I don't really know if that's what they are, but let's just say that's what it is. And I tell you, today you can get it for $28,000 and you can sell it for $140,000. Instantly, you could make a profit of $100,000. Sounds like a no-brainer, right? If that were the case, how soon could you come up with the money? This is just a simple, silly example, right? But it illustrates an important example here because we see the value. In this case, we see the monetary value. And sometimes we need like a physical example. But we can see the value, right? We're like, oh yeah, I would go to this person. I'd find a way. I would get that 28K and I would make 100K. That would be no-brainer. Right? Here's another silly example. A Gucci handbag worth 3 to 4K. I'm going to sell it to you today for $1,200. Special deal. How soon could you come up with the money? People do this all the time. We find a way to make it happen when we see the value. And I understand this is a silly materialistic, I don't know, it's kind of silly, but what I want you to understand is that your marriage has value. We agreed, right? That the value of your marriage is priceless. You cannot put a price tag on it. Is it worth investing in? Is it worth saving the money, the time, the headache, the years of heartbreak? Is it worth saving the pain and challenges you will continue to go through if you don't turn something around? Is it worth sacrificing the pain and difficulties that your children will go through? Yes, of course it is. So, what's more important? Your new boat, your TV, your Netflix subscription, or your marriage? Bottom line, guys, it's gonna take time, investing resources, energy, and money to turn things around. It's just part of the game. Either way, it's gonna take marriage to either end your marriage. That's gonna cost money, or it's gonna take money to turn your marriage around, and time and energy and investment. Are you willing to do that? Do you see the value in that? All right, I'm going to turn it back over to Mark for our final mistake that we see.
Right, mistake number 3, thinking it's all about the marriage. And you know what, this might sound odd, especially coming out from us, people who specialize in saving marriages. But if you miss this, you miss the big picture of what this is all about. And sometimes it's not just about the marriage. The mistake here is about becoming so focused on the relationship that you fail to see what's led up to this point, and even more importantly, where you're going. See, the thing is, people take with them, whatever's going on around them. I can think of a specific, actually I can think of several clients, and they tell me that, my wife and I, we've drifted apart. We haven't, really been connecting well. We get into arguments. And when I get down into it, we also hear other things like, yeah, we're also in really high profile, high stress jobs. We're not taking time to take care of ourselves. And, we see when I start uncovering things, all this extra stress, all these other things going on start coming to the surface. Not all about the marriage sometimes. The thing is, there are some big lead indicators there's something called lead indicators versus lag indicators. And there's also this issue of focusing externally versus internally. A lot of times, I'll tell people, I like explaining this concept, talking about the external versus internal. There's a psychological term called the locus of control, basically where people feel control is in their life. And, generally within psychology, it is seen as problematic if people have what is called an external locus of control. They think that issues come from outside of themselves. They might, in people who have a very strong external locus of control, they might say, okay, other people are the problems. I have lots of bad luck. Why do, they might say things like, why does this always happen to me? Versus people who have an internal locus of control, they say, you know what? The things that I did 6 months ago is probably why I'm in the mess right now. Talking about lag indicators. If you go into a situation and you're upset and you're angry and you yell at people, that might not cause big problems right away, right at the start, in the lead, but over time, that does cause some issues. And people who have that strong internal sense, locus of control, they get that. They say, I have a lot of control over here, and I can have a lot of control to change things. The point here is it's not always about the marriage, and it's not always about, I see a big mistake here is blaming it, blaming the problems in the marriage, just putting blame in general. It's just, a lot of times there's an unwillingness to look at themselves and see what's going on with themselves. They have this external push, putting blame outside of themselves. And that just doesn't go anywhere. Oftentimes people miss the learning lessons, the corrections that come from taking ownership of their problems and learning from it. What often happens is people stay stuck in their pain rather than grow. I mean, me personally, just to open up a bit, I remember, this is years back, I remember making some huge mistakes in life, and my whole life plans, they got thrown for a loop. I sat there, I remember one day sitting in my car crying, sobbing like uncontrollably for hours because I thought I'd messed my life up. The thing is, after I got out of that, my wife was so wonderful, supporting me. We got really into a habit of looking inward and seeing how we could grow from experiences like that. That's basically the direct result of those circumstances, is why I have a company here today, and why I can sit here and talk in front of all of you. And the thing is, if we relive the same difficult circumstances year after year, relationship after relationship, if we keep putting an external focus on where our problems lie, we're just going to see the same problems over and over again. It's not going to change. This is actually why the statistics for second marriages, third marriages are not really that promising, because a lot of people who cut and run tend to be those people who have the external locus of control and are blaming others rather than learning from their problems, taking ownership. So, there's some results of these common mistakes. Having that tunnel focus, having that ostrich syndrome. They both tend to lead people to floundering on their own. Either they become paralyzed by fear, they do nothing until they fail, or they go overboard doing the wrong things or get ineffective help and end up pushing their spouse further away. Either direction, it's not really helpful. I can think of, I'm thinking of a specific person that I've worked with within recent years. I remember talking with the spouse in this, the wife here, and I remember, and if you think this is about you, if I have some of my clients on, this is, I've seen this in many cases. So I remember talking with the wife here in this circumstance, and she had agreed to talk to me. And one of the first things that she said, we just got right past the greeting, and it's all his fault basically. And I had to sit there for a second to register what had been said, and I was thinking here, okay, this is going to be a difficult situation, because here was this tunnel focus. Here was this, focus on all the problems being external. Because, my experience here was, talking with the husband. He seemed to be a fairly reasonable guy. He seemed to be looking at things and trying to change things. And, just my experience is, of course, it's, you might hear some children running past the door. We have some guests over, and sometimes that happens. Um, so in this case, she was exhibiting a lot of these problems, having that tunnel focus, you know, really burying her head in the sand, saying it's not my fault, it's not my problem, I'm not going to have to do anything here, and you know, really having that external locus of control. And what happens in these cases is it becomes extraordinarily difficult to make progress unless you really have some super guided guided steps here. This was why that the marriage was continuing to go downhill, is because these mistakes were very, very apparent, very, very strong in this case. The thing is, many people wait too long. They keep spiraling down in this direction until it gets worse and worse and worse. And these mistakes, they tend to feed in on themselves. And you know, at some point, it does become too late. So, question here: what must you do to restore your marriage? This is basically why we have, you know, the basics here, the restoration equation. This is kind of the basic formula that we've come up with to coming back together, to recoupling, to restoring a marriage. And it really does, you know, it has some correlations here with some of these mistakes. It's about understanding. It's about building up some hope, helping them to see the possibilities there. And, you know, once we can get past some of the initial junk, you know, about meeting the needs in the relationship. When we have those, we quite often have a restored relationship.
Mark, thank you so much. I'm just going to jump ahead here just for the sake of time, if that's all right.
Sure.
But I want to ask everyone, has this been helpful? Have you had an aha moment? What have you learned? And what do you commit to change or to implement? Where do you want your marriage to be 3 months from now? What would that feel like to come home to a relationship that is happy, secure? Your spouse is there with you, committed. There's love in their eyes. There's a spark in their eyes again. There's calmness and just security and warmth inside of you. Any fear, any doubt, any pain is just gone. It's just something that's like a memory of the past. And you are living that marriage that you truly want to have. So, would you like more? What you can do is you can apply our restoration equation, and hopefully, absolutely, if you apply this marriage restoration, you will be one of the ones that avoid those costly mistakes, and you can start restoring your marriage. So Mark and I, we've set aside some time with our team to speak with you about your relationship and to speak with you about how you can move your relationship forward at this point so that you can get to that place you want to be 3 months from now, so that you can avoid some of those very costly mistakes and that you can learn new patterns, new behaviors, and solve issues at their root to truly have a marriage that thrives. And like Mark said, it's not just about the marriage, it's about you and where you want to go with your life and how you want to live out the rest of your life. Do you want it to continue the way that it is, or do you want to move forward? So if you're ready for that, then I'm going to actually skip this. I'm going to move ahead, and because we're a little bit short on time, but I do want to say who this is for. Silas here, he was like, yeah, he took the leap of faith, and now his wife is back in and she moved back in, and we're awesome. That's awesome. That's so just what we do every day, and we see it happen every day. But I do want you to know that this is not for everyone. You have to have a couple things. You have to be committed. You must absolutely be committed to saving your marriage, and you must be willing to go first, right? You must have to have that gumption and not wait for your spouse to get on board, but recognize that there are things that you can do. You can avoid tunnel syndrome or tunnel vision and ostrich syndrome, and you can make effective choices. You can get out of the fear mode and get to a place of centeredness and calmness. Invest it. Again, you must put forth the time, energy, and money to save your marriage and your family. And you must be coachable. You must be willing to do what it takes to save your marriage. If that resonates with you, again, we wanted to leave you with something so that you could take action in the right direction. So you're not spinning your wheels anymore, trying this and that and doing 100 different things that aren't working, or trying one thing once and then scratching your head wondering why that didn't work. But know exactly what works so that you can get where you want your marriage to be in 3 months from now. Join us over here at highthrivecoaching.com/apply, and you can apply to have a breakthrough call with us. This is a free call where we will see if you are a good fit to work with Mark and I in one of our incredible coaching programs. So, Mark, we thank you from the bottom of our hearts for your expertise and your incredible guidance. We have shared some gems with you, and I hope that you're able to take these with you and take some strength and some hope and empower yourself to move yourself forward in your relationship, not just for you, but for your family and for years and years to come. We honor you and we thank you for coming. If you have any questions, please reach out to us. Otherwise, you guys have a great day and thanks for coming.